Surprise! I look really good. Surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but normally the lighting is not in my favor, so I look really nice. Anyway, surprise! I didn't do final predictions. I didn't do upsets last week, and I was like, you know what? Let me not make you guys wait up until next week in order to see me go live basically and actually break down the fights. Maybe I'll do individual breakdowns for the main event and co-main event next week. But for now, I'm going to do the full card predictions. Once upon an oil fest, I saw the notification and I clicked straight away. I know, my dude. I know you wouldn't miss it. There was a time whereby I went live and then you were not on the stream. I've been missing too many lives. Yeah, but I knew you wouldn't miss this one. Um, and a lot of people have been requesting it, which is odd because like I never really. A lot of the time I get trolled about my predictions and they're like, "Ah, you're trash," but since last week, and which is odd to me because I got like 7 out of 13, and like I've gotten the most compliments, despite the fact that, in my opinion, I didn't do so well. So yeah, it was surprising, but I knew you wouldn't miss this one. Welcome, actually. I've been missing doing these live streams, so this is my payment back to you guys for not doing them last week. The problems that I had last week, I mean, have been resolved. So I'm going to be able to go live per usual. Maybe next week I'll add more live streams. Anyway, let's get to the fight. Kennedy Nzechuku versus Lucas Brzezinski. I don't know who the. Okay, I know the guy, but I don't know how to pronounce his name. The zesty one. Um, my subscribers and I went with Kennedy Nzechuku, which is odd. I wanted to confirm my predictions with my subscribers, but it seems like me and my subscribers agreed on every single fight except Michael Chiesa and Max Griffin, which is a good sign because normally when we agree, I get like one or two wrong, which is usually good. Because the fight card with Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, my subscribers and I agreed except on the fight between who's this guy who's fighting Joel Alvarez versus the other Brazilian guy with golden hair who trains with Charles Oliveira. I forgot his name. So normally when we agree on the majority of the fights, usually it's a good sign. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So Kennedy Zachuku versus Lucas Bezeski, the zesty one. Okay, I'm not. I just. Okay, let me just get to the predictions. On the feed, I don't know, man. I feel like Lucas is going to have a bit of an advantage. I feel like he is a little bit better defensively. I think he's a bit more accurate than Kennedy Zachuku. Um, and then on the ground, I don't know. It's a coin toss. I'm going with Kennedy Zachuku, but honestly speaking, I feel like he is still not physically strong based on his performance against the guy, the short guy. I forgot his name. I didn't like his performance. In my opinion, I felt like he should have just dominated him, and I don't think he dominated him. There were moments whereby I was like, "Sheesh, that was close," and I don't want to be doing that. You see, for example, when John Jones was fighting Stipe Miocic, there was never a moment whereby I was like, "Oh my God, could this happen?" There was never a moment, but there were moments with that short guy, and with such a massive reach, with such amazing striking abilities. I'm just worried for Kennedy Nzechuku. I'm not really sold on his abilities as a fighter. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if Lucas somehow finds a way to get it done. I'm still sticking with Kennedy Nzechuku, but man, Uh, he hasn't been looking impressive, and he won, and I picked him in his last fight. But there's a certain way that I need you to win in order for me to feel confident when I pick you. You know, that's one of the reasons why when people were like, "Are you crazy? Why are you saying the fight between Hamza Chimaev and Robert Whittaker is safe?" I was like, it was based on the fact that I've seen Hamza Chimaev fight. So I feel confident in the fact that I know he's good and he's going to make sure he dominates. And I'm not comparing Kennedy Nzechukwu to Hamza Chimaev because they're on different levels. I'm just saying it just felt like he was one punch or kick away from getting knocked out, basically, and I don't like that. And I feel like Lucas Brzezinski has the ability to actually do that. I'm still sticking with Kennedy Nzechukwu, but yeah, I'm not very. I'm not. Um, Yakuzagu, you didn't miss anything, my dude. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Let me actually respond to everyone before I proceed. So yeah, my pick is Kennedy Nzechukwu. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a close fight. Lucas could get it done. Yeah. So let me reply to you guys before I move on to the next fight. Um, Once upon an oil fest, the Lucas is terribly chinny, so that's why I'm going with Kennedy. I agree. He might be chinny, but I think he has the ability to put up a fight. And even Kennedy, I feel like Kennedy is. I don't want to call him weak in a way, but he doesn't seem like he can take like a punch or even to the body, like to the like if you punch him hard to the stomach, I feel like he's going to crumble. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I'm not very excited about this particular pick because I want to be right as always. But yeah, I think Kennedy Nzechukwu should get it done, but I think it's going to be a coin toss in my opinion. Not a coin toss, but I'd say 60-40. 60-40 Kennedy Nzechukwu wins this fight. Once upon an other first 100% risk level. He beat a fed Chris Barnett, which is not impressive. I agree. Slow rule, yeah, bro, I agree. What is your tips to avoid masturbation? Wow. Anyway, on to the next one. Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. My subscribers and I went with Chase Hooper. Are you discussing the safe and risky pick predictions today? You know what? I should bring them back. I apologize. I didn't add them here, and I can't recall them by. You know what I'll do. I'll add the risk levels. When I do the abscess predictions next week. So I apologize. I should have added them. I didn't add even the decision or finish predictions. I apologize for that. I'll add them to the upsets predictions next week, or I'll see what I do for you guys. But yeah, for now I'm going to just break down the fights and give you guys my pick. Some of the people who just watch my live streams and do not watch my other videos. So Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. My subscribers and I went with Chase Hooper. I think this fight is, even though I said this fight is safe, I feel like it's a little bit risky. However, it's made safe by the fact that Clay Guida is old. But if it wasn't for Clay Guida's age, um, I think I would have picked Clay Guida. If it wasn't for his age, I think I would have picked Clay Guida. And which is odd coming from me specifically because I picked Muslim Salihov, I picked Jim Miller. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, but dude, like, you were picking old fighters and they actually won. So why are you making age an issue? The thing is, I feel like Chase Hooper is deceptively good. Um, I don't know if he's deceptively good or if he is having success at a lower level. Because for me, I'm still not sold. he finds a way to win. But for me personally, I haven't seen anything that makes me feel like he's going to be a future contender. And I feel like maybe the UFC. That's why the UFC keeps on feeding him people like Clay Guida. And like I said, I feel like Clay Guida is a really talented fighter. Just that he's old now, and Chase Hooper is a bit of a finisher. He's very resourceful. He's very scrappy, but he finds a way to actually get a submission. So I've doubted him a lot of times, and I'm not just picking him because I've doubted him before. I feel like he's going to win this fight, and I think Chase Hooper is one of the few fights that I said were safe on my risky and safe predictions. But obviously, after a little bit of research, I'm like, you know what? If Chase Hooper does not show up, nah, man. I don't know. I just feel like, in all honesty, I feel like Clay Guida is better here. However, he's too old. I mean, some of the skills obviously go away. The speed, the variety of things that are affected by age. And unfortunately, Clay Guida is at that point, and I don't see him beating Chase Hooper, but I wouldn't be too confident. And I think I remember saying this fight for me personally. I think even my subscribers said this fight is 55% safe, if I'm not mistaken. And when I say 55, just know that it's. I almost said it was 51% risky, but I felt like there were so many advantages on the side of Chase Hooper that I felt like I shouldn't scare people away from this fight. But as far as technical breakdowns, so let me see. On the feed, I would say it was going to be evenly matched. However, like I said, Clay Guida is a little bit older, so maybe I'd give the advantage to Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper is easy to take down, but he somehow finds a way to get a submission. And I don't see Clay Guida. Unfortunately, I think if it was maybe 5 years ago, Clay Guida would have run circles around Chase Hooper, in my opinion. But right now, I don't see that happening. But I'm not very confident. This is how I felt about the fight between Silva and Araujo, basically, just to give you an idea. Because I remember saying that I felt like Araujo is basically going to be a little bit. She's good, but I was worried about her age, right? Um, I was a bit confident in the fact that Karini Silva had the power to actually maybe make it tricky on the feet, but I knew that, and I did say that I felt like Araujo would have the advantage on the feet, and Silva would have the advantage on the ground. In this particular instance, I felt like Clay Guida would have the advantage on the ground, and on the feet it would be evenly matched. So, like I'm going to repeat this point because this is one of the elements that make me feel like it's hard to pick Clay Guida in this particular instance because I feel like there's a variety of ways this fight can go, and I feel like on the ground, I don't think Clay Guida has the ability to dominate at the age that he's at right now. Unfortunately, whether on the feet or on the ground, he might be better, but I think Chase Hooper is going to be a little bit faster, and that's going to make him seem like he's a little bit better or significantly better. But yeah, my subscribers and I are going with Chase Hooper. I'm confident, but not too confident. I'm not gonna lie. That's why I made the comparison to the fight between Karini Silva and Viviane Araujo, and admittedly, Viviane Araujo has not taken as much damage as Clay Guida, and it's not as slow as Clay Guida is right now. So maybe that's not a fair comparison, but nonetheless, I feel like that's how I feel. It gives me that feeling. I just thought maybe I should put it out there if it helps anyone. Anyway, on to the next one. Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. My subscribers went with Michael Chiesa. I went with Max Griffin. Um, let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, on the feed, I think it's obvious that on the feed. What do you call him? Max Griffin is going to have the advantage. On the ground, obviously, it's going to be Michael Chiesa. But Michael Chiesa was submitted by Kevin Holland, and I know Kevin Holland is a black belt, but I don't raid black belts that get their belts in the gym. Like Kobe Covington. Kobe Covington is a jiu-jitsu black belt, but he got his belt in the gym. Like it's not impressive to me if you get a belt in the gym. In comparison, Hamza Chimaev I think is still a brown belt, and look at what he's doing to people. He's breaking people's jaws, and Hamza Chimaev is still a brown belt. So how is Kevin Holland higher in rankings as far as grappling? But look at what Hamza is doing. So just because they say someone has a black belt doesn't mean they're elite at what they are doing on the ground. I'm not taking shots at anyone. I'm just saying sometimes these black belts are being issued out for absolutely no reason, no good reason, at least as far as my opinion goes. So he got submitted by Kevin Holland. He looked trash against Tony Ferguson. Admittedly, he won, but he looked as horrible as Tony Ferguson on the feed and on the like. To be honest, I picked Michael Chiesa, but I was worried in that fight up until leading up to that. The takedown was sloppy, like it was bad, man. Like it wasn't impressive. Like he should have dominated Tony Ferguson, and he didn't. Right? Obviously, he submitted him, but it never got too uncomfortable. Um, it never got to a point whereby I was like, I hope they stop this. And that's what is supposed to happen when you're fighting Tony Ferguson today. And unfortunately, that's not what was happening. It was like, oh, is Tony Ferguson going to be able to do this? Like, I don't want it to be competitive at this point when you're fighting Tony Ferguson. Like, it was very disappointed. Like I said, I picked him to beat the Tony Ferguson, but it wasn't Chiesa dominating. He looked very slow. He looked like what I would expect Clay Guida to look like right now when he's fighting. Like he didn't look impressive, in my opinion. I think he's going to be very desperate to get the fight to the ground. And on the other hand, I mean, it's not like Max Griffin has the best takedown defense. Um, so he might have the advantage on the feed, but if he gets taken down, it's going to be a very long night for him, especially if he can't defend takedowns. I've realized that once a fighter gets taken down, not all of them, but the majority of them, if you are able to take them down and hold them down for at least one round, they will most likely give up, right? Unless we're talking about like top five or prospects that are on their path to a title. Like someone who's ranked will probably find a way to actually fight to stay on their feet. But a lot of unranked fighters, whenever you take them down once, most likely you're going to be able to take them down for the rest of the fight. And I don't feel like Max Griffin is driven, to actually achieve anything in the UFC. Just like Michael Chiesa, they are just coming in for the check. There's nothing really driving them to actually be incredible fighters. Um, so honestly, you can make the point that either person can win this fight. But I'm going with Max Griffin. I feel like he's a little bit faster. He has power. I think he has some level of a takedown defense. Hopefully, it's useful in this particular fight. It's so frustrating when a fighter knows what their opponent is going to do. And I understand that sometimes it's difficult, but we're not talking about Hamza Chimaev or Habib Nurmagomedov. We're talking about Michael Chiesa. I mean, Kevin Holland submitted him. So, like, I hope he's able to, at the very least, avoid getting taken down. Because if he can avoid that, I think Max Griffin is going to knock out Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa is horrible on the feet. He's average on the ground, but he can get a takedown, even though his takedown shots are very sloppy. He has the ability to take the fight to the ground. So hopefully, Max Griffin actually comes prepared because I think he should win this fight. but it seems like it's going to be very close. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But my subscribers went with Michael Chiesa. I went with Max Griffin. I guess we'll see who's right. On to the next one. Cody Durden versus Joshua Van. My subscribers and I went with Joshua Van. Once again, okay, not once again. Okay, yeah, actually, once again, my biggest quarrel or my biggest issue with Joshua Van is the fact that he's too short, man. He's really talented. He's a really good fighter. He's very well rounded. He has power. You know, he has everything that's required to be a champion. But I feel like a flyweight, unfortunately, which is sad to say, but flyweight seems like it's too big for him. I don't know, man. Ar, what's up, man? So I feel like Joshua Van is a little bit too small. Even though my subscribers and I went with Joshua Van, Joshua Van is the kind of guy that you're going to pick and you're always going to be worried about him losing the fight. Um, so Joshua Van should dominate this fight. I think he's better on the feet. I think he's better. Okay, on the ground, I could see it being a coin flip, you know. So, but I think Joshua Van is good enough to avoid getting taken down. On the feet, I feel like Joshua Van should not only win, but he should actually dominate. Okay, I appreciate that, man. I'm going to respond to everyone in the comment section once I'm done breaking down the fight. So, once again, Cody Durden. Uh, I don't know. He's one of those guys who sometimes wins and sometimes loses. I don't know. Or maybe I'm thinking about someone else, but he's very forgettable. And my general opinion about fights is if you're not memorable, then it means you're not good enough, you know? Which is crazy, but normally I'm right. Like if I can't remember who you are and I've seen you fight multiple times, it means it wasn't good. It means I was very bored and I wasn't very impressed with what you were doing. You know, so but, Cody Durden is very forgettable, which means I've never seen anything impressive from him. But to be honest, I feel like Joshua Van is leaps and bounds better. Yeah, no, I'll make sure that I do. Maybe I'll do the streams whereby I talk to the chat only maybe during fight week because there isn't much that I'm going to be doing except the upsets predictions. Maybe we can talk about the main event and co-main event. Maybe we can have a discussion then. I think I'll do that maybe next week. But for now, I think I want to break down these fights. Um, so yeah, I think Joshua Van is leaps and bounds better than Cody Durden everywhere. The only path to victory I feel like for Cody Durden is on the ground. But Cody Durden, much like almost everyone in the flyweight division, has a reach advantage over Joshua Van. So if Cody Durden somehow learns how to use a jab and stay at a distance, it might be a problem for Joshua Van because uh, once again, he's very small. Like it's very problematic whenever you're picking him because you're like this guy's good, but you know if he fights someone who can use a jab, it's gonna be a problem. Was it Jose Johnson? I think it was Jose Johnson who was busy using a jab to actually keep him at a distance, and he actually ended up beating him. So that's one of the things I worry about when I pick Joshua Van. Even in the last fight, I was like, I picked him at UFC Noche, and I was like, he's better, but the dude is fighting has reach, even though he's also terrible. But um, I was worried about the reach, and I was almost right to be worried because he almost lost. And that was a back and forth fight, and I don't like fights like that when I pick someone. I preferred for them to actually be safe and fight to a decision or just finish the other guy, whether it's a knockout or submission, or dominate the fight. When I pick you, that's what I expect. I know that's not what I'm always going to get, but it's not very healthy when I'm watching the fights and I'm like, um, thinking, am I going to get this one right or wrong? Like it's not very nice to actually go through that. But yeah, I'm picking Joshua Van. I think he's better everywhere. Unfortunately, I just feel like he's very small, so could be a problem for him. On to the next one, Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. My subscribers and I went with Chris Weidman. I broke this down last week, um, but I'm going to do it again. Once again, the reasons I gave for Jim Miller, the reasons I gave for Muslim Salihov, the reasons I picked those two guys, it was, it's because I criticized Clay Guida for being old, but Chase Hooper is not trash. Like if ever I felt like Chase Hooper was trash, I'd be like I would be picking Clay Guida. In the Jim Miller situation and the Muslim Salihov situation, I felt like Song Kanan or whatever his name is, um, as well as Damon Jackson, I felt like they were trash. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to be mean. I just feel like they're not good. Um, okay, I'll get to that fight, my dude. I'll respond to everyone in the comment section. I just want to finish here first. So the reason I'm picking Chris Weidman is because I feel like Eric Anders is trash, right? And I know Chris Weidman is old, but it's not like Eric Anders is young either. Like I think he's like 35, 36. I mean, and then I think they're like 2, 3 years apart. So it's not like there's a massive gap in age. Whereas between Chase Hooper and Clay Guida, there's a massive gap in age. And on top of that, I don't feel like Chase Hooper is trash. Whereas I feel like Eric Anders is trash. I felt like Damon Jackson was trash. I felt like Song Kenan was trash. That's why I went with the older fighter because I looked at the opponent and I was like, no flipping way am I picking this guy just because this other dude is old. Because I felt like, well, I don't know, it's a coin flip. I'm going to go with the guy who I feel is better, which in this situation is Chris Weidman. Plus, if it comes down to it, I know he's going to win a robbery. So, I mean, you have to think about everything. So, if it gets to a decision and someone has to get robbed, it's probably going to be Anders. Like, it's probably going to be Anders who gets robbed. So, I'm going to with the guy who's probably going to win the robbery. But apart from that, on a serious note, I feel like Chris Weidman is the better fighter, former champion, fought some of the best fighters in the history of the UFC, people like Anderson Silva. So I don't know, man. I feel like he is a little bit better, not a lot, but a little bit better, and he put up a decent fight against. Like he went to a decision with Brad Tavares. That doesn't mean a lot. I mean, post the Chris Weidman's leg injury, he went to a decision with Brad Tavares, which is decent because when you consider the fact that Brad Tavares went on to beat a couple of people and then lost, I think, a decision to Junior Park, which a lot of people were picking Brad Tavares, so that's why I'm like, and it's not too horrible for his age and everything like that. And what has Eric Enders done? Like it's difficult to actually try to give him credit because you can't even recall what he did. Like I don't know, man. To me, I just see the situation between Jim Miller and Damon Jackson, Muslim Salihov, and Song Kenan. Um, they are fighting trash opponents. Even though they are older, they have the ability to get it done. I could be wrong, but maybe Chris Weidman is going to poke him in the eyes again. I didn't pick him when he was poking Bruno Silva. And to be fair, he was winning the fight against Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva actually took Shara Bullet to a decision, but that was a Shara Bullet who was not working on his takedown defense. He was still debuting, so maybe I shouldn't actually even be mentioning that. But still, maybe he might eye poke him, do what Michael Chandler is famous for right now. Get in some illegal shots, get us the win. I know he's going to do everything in his power. You have to choose the guy who you feel like is going to cheat if it comes down to every advantage, or rather every possibility for someone to win illegally is on Chris Weidman's side. Who's going to win a robbery? Chris Weidman. Who's probably going to poke the other guy in the eye? Chris Weidman. Who's probably going to cheat in this fight? Chris Weidman. Who's better? Chris Weidman. Who's the former champion? Chris Weidman. So am I going to pick Eric Anders just because he's 2 or 3 years younger than Chris Weidman? No, I'm going with Chris Weidman. My reasons are very terrible, but very accurate. Like, I'm not lying. Um, but yeah, apart from all the things I said, which are honestly true, I feel like Chris Weidman is better. So yeah, my subscribers are going with Chris Weidman. But it's a coin flip. He's old now, so. But I have trust in his ability to cheat and get away with it. I have trust in his ability to actually win a robbery if it comes down to it. So Chris Weidman it is. On to the next one. Randy Brown versus Brian Battle. My subscribers and I went with Brian Battle. Another worrying fight. Uh, Let me see who's going to win here. Who's better on the feed? On the feed. It's a coin flip on the feed. Let me see. And then on the ground. I don't know, guys, man. I'm worried about the fight between Brian Battle and what do you call him? Randy Brown. Um, I think obviously a lot of people expect Randy Brown to be a little bit better on the feet and Brian Battle to be better on the ground. I don't think so. I think they are more or less evenly matched everywhere. That's one of the reasons why I think I said this fight is 100% risky. Um, Largely because I feel like Randy Brown is, I don't want to say just as skilled as Brian Battle. I feel like Brian Battle still has a couple of things he needs to work on, but he is a little bit more determined, it seems, um, than than Randy Brown. Randy Brown seems like he's just floating around the division, whereas it seems like Brian Battle is actually working hard to improve every single fight, and he's working hard to actually get into the rankings and eventually be a title contender. And I take that very seriously because whoever is a little bit more driven will probably be the better fighter on the night. Whenever someone gets knocked down or the fight gets a little bit challenging, who's most likely going to give up? It's the guy who's just floating around the division, which is Randy Brown. Skill for skill, I feel like that's going to be extremely close. In my opinion, it's a coin flip. Um, I can't believe I'm saying this, but once again, I feel the same way about Randy Brown as I do about Kennedy Nzechuku. Um, there's a certain level of weakness that I sense from them, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I don't see, I don't feel like Randy Brown has the ability to take a punch and actually survive. Like a really good punch. Whereas I feel like Brian Battle will find a way to try to fight even if he gets dropped. I don't see that in Randy Brown. Um, I don't see that dog. That's why I'm saying when it comes to motivation, I'm leaning more towards Brian Battle because it seems like he's trying to get into the rankings. Seems like he wants to be a champion. Whereas Randy Brown feels like Kevin Holland to me. It's like as long as you're paying him good, he's fine just fighting around and just not losing. It just feels that way, man. Um, so yeah, I'm leaning towards Brian Battle. I'm not very confident in this particular pick. I'm just going off of who I feel like is more driven and who is more motivated. Even though these are not the upset predictions, I would stay away from this fight. Um, yeah, I would stay away from this unless if you feel very confident. I mean, you can do whatever you want. This is me advising, but I feel like this fight is risky. But I also said the same thing about Brian Battle's last fight in Paris. And who was he fighting? I forgot who he was fighting, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be very close, and he actually finished him. But just because I think people need to also understand that just because someone finishes their opponent, it doesn't necessarily mean they are leaps and bounds are better than them. That's why normally whenever someone finishes you in the first fight, in the second fight it usually ends in a decision, right? Look at Michael Chandler versus. Okay, that's a bad example because if Michael Chandler was not cheating as much as he was, grabbing the fence, grabbing the gloves, back over the head shots, probably Charles Oliveira would have been able to finish him. So that's not a good example. But normally, just because you finished someone, it doesn't mean you outclassed them unless if maybe you beat them up for like 3 rounds and then you finish them. That's when we can say, yeah, yeah, this guy is significantly better, right? So if even in I think one of the few people who comes close to that is Ilya Tuporia, but even Ilya Tuporia takes a bit of damage before he lands that big shot, and in most cases he loses a couple of rounds, leading up to the knockouts that he normally got or he normally gets. For example, against Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, he was. I think those fights were very competitive, slightly competitive up until the knockout, right? So for me, I don't feel like someone is significantly better even if you finish them. So back to Brian Battle, which is the point I was trying to make. I felt like the fight in France was going to be significantly close, but he ended up getting the finish in that particular fight, right? Maybe that means he's improving significantly, but the little things that I saw in that fight, I felt like Brian Battle is driven, which is good, and that's why he's getting the finishes. But I still felt like there are a couple of elements that he needs to work on and improve if he truly intends on becoming a champion. Because when you look at the people at the top, especially in the top five, it's just complete fighters, So, but in this situation, I think Brian Battle wanted a little bit more than Randy Brown. Yeah, I think he's more of a dog in this particular fight. I don't know if I'm actually articulating what I want to say properly, but I think you guys maybe understand what I'm saying. So yeah, I'm going with Randy Brown. No, Brian Battle. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, my subscribers and I are going with Brian Battle. It's going to be a very close fight. Anyway, on to the next one. Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. Another close one. I know a lot of people think Aljamain Sterling's striking is trash, but a lot of people forget that Aljamain Sterling was up as far as rounds before the illegal knee by Piotr Jan, right? And I know a lot of people don't like Aljamain Sterling, but he's a really decent fighter. Obviously, I feel like the reason why Aljamain Sterling lost that fight, to be honest, because I think he lost, despite the knee, he was still going to lose that fight. I think Aljamain Sterling was not prepared as far as cardio goes. I think he would have won that fight if he came in with cardio and he started kneeling to the ground and just doing things that were embarrassing. I understand that, and he got the DQ championship win, right? But still, I feel like Aljamain Sterling has decent striking. I don't think he's very elite on the ground. That's why he doesn't get finishes. But I can say the same thing about Movsar Evloev, right? So the logical thing here would be that Movsar Evloev will probably avoid the both of them actually, but I think Aljamain Sterling, after taking down say Henry Cejudo, will think he is the better grappler. I guess it just remains to be seen because I don't think so. I don't agree with him. Um, I think I think I've answered that question. But I'll answer you once I'm done with the stream. Let me not disturb myself and then mix everything up. Because there's a couple of fights that I still have to go to, and I'm left with like 30% in terms of battery life. So I want to be at least done before the battery starts doing its own thing. So I feel like the fact that Movsar Evloev was able to have success against Brandon Allen speaks volumes because I felt like Brandon Allen was beating up Max Holloway. That's why Max Holloway had to mix in the grappling. If I remember that fight correctly, Max Holloway used a lot of wrestling to tire out Brandon Allen and eventually obviously won the fight. Um, so if Movsar Evloev was able to actually do that, I think he's probably going to be a little bit better on the feet. Movsar Evloev beat Diego Lopez. I don't feel like it matters that it was on short notice because I feel like Diego Lopez was prepared physically, clearly. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to go 3 rounds with Movsar Evloev. Like if Diego Lopez was not prepared, I don't think he would have been able to go 3 rounds with the number 10 ranked. What do you call him? Is it featherweight? Whatever division they're in. So I don't think, yeah, it's featherweight. So I don't think he would have been able to do that if he wasn't prepared. I know a lot of people like to say, no, it was on short notice, but yeah, I mean, like, who goes on 3 rounds? Most people can't even like start to gas out in the second round. So if Diego Lopez was not prepared, he wouldn't have been able to. Arnold Allen, yes, yes, yes. It's Arnold Allen, not Brandon. Thank you, Oilfest. Thank you very much. So I don't think he would have been able to go that many rounds with. It's not many, but the pace, the grappling exchanges, being able to survive and still be threatening, is heavy, right? So I think Diego Lopez was very prepared for that fight, even though a lot of people won't give credit to Movsar Evloev. So those 2 wins, man, I feel like Arnold Allen, yes. I think Arnold Allen is a really talented striker, and the mere fact that Movsar Evloev was able to stand with him and actually get the win um, speaks volumes about his abilities. Right, Sterling is a former champion, but in the bantamweight division is not the featherweight division. Right. Um, I've been one of the people who have been rooting for Aljamain Sterling to actually succeed, because I feel like the UFC has been trying to make sure that he loses his belt. But after losing the belt, it seems like they're treating him nicely, putting him on UFC 300. Like, it seems like they're treating him really well. Even though he always talks trash about the UFC, it seems like they're really treating him well recently, especially since he moved up. But whenever he was champion, he was getting treated like crap. Anyway, I don't know. I just feel like Movsar Evloev is going to be better just based off of the competition both of them have faced. Um, I think Arnold Allen is one of the best strikers in the featherweight division, and Movsar Evloev was able to survive when Aljamain Sterling faced one of the best strikers in his division, which was Sean O'Malley, he got knocked out. And granted, I'm not going to be mean and say it was entirely his fault. The UFC pressured him to turn around a little bit quicker, and he didn't have enough time to prepare for a striker because he, after fighting a wrestler in Henry Cejudo, he then had to have a camp before striking. I think if he had a couple of months to prepare for Sean O'Malley, maybe we would be seeing a different outcome. Maybe he would have done what do you call him, Merab Devalishvili did to Sean O'Malley. Who knows? Maybe if he had a little bit more time. They train from the same camp. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Movsar Evloev is not significantly better than Aljamain Sterling, but he's a little bit better. Um, on the feet, at least. I don't know about the ground because both of them do not have the ability to finish as far as I've seen. But I feel like Movsar is a little bit more driven. Also, Aljamain Sterling is a little bit older. I think he's like 36 now, and that's not good at featherweight, especially at the elite level. Being 36 and Aljamain Sterling is good when you're fighting top 10 and bottom 15, but when you get to the top 5, it becomes a different ball game. A simple example is, what do you call him? Davison Figueiredo. A lot of people were thinking Davison Figueiredo is going to win that fight. But at the elite level, being 36 is a problem. Unless you are at light heavyweight or heavyweight, then maybe it's not going to be too much of an issue. But at lower divisions, once you enter the top 5 and you're above 36, then you deserve a lot of respect because there are not many people who are 36 and who are in the top 5, right? It's Henry Cejudo, but he's in the top 5 with a loss, right? Like he hasn't beaten anyone yet. I don't know why is in the top 5, but still, anyone who's above 36 and is still able to win fights in the against at the very younger fighters deserves a lot of respect. Um, I'm leaving comments so you can read them later after your take. Okay, no problem, man. See you later. I apologize. I just want to finish before the battery starts doing its thing. Anyway, my subscribers and I went with Movsar Evloev. Vicente Luque versus Temba Gorimbo. My subscribers and I went with Temba Gorimbo. You know what? When I was doing these predictions, I felt like it's going to be close. I saw Vicente Luque is a minus 800 favorite. I was like, a lot of people are gonna lose money here. Who thinks? Who's that confident in Vicente Luque? Like, it's odd to see a lot of people having so much confidence in Vicente Luque. I mean, granted, I feel like Vicente Luque is, I don't know, he's the better finisher. I think that's the advantage I'd give him. I just feel like I'm not very confident in Temba Gorimbo. He didn't look great in his last fight. Um, but man, I don't see Vicente Luque winning this fight. I think Temba Gorimbo is going to be better on the feet. I think Temba Gorimbo is going to be better on the ground. I mean, I don't see Vicente Luque having any sort of an advantage. Anyway, this might end in a decision. I'm not going to go as far as saying this is a safe fight. Um, okay. I was like, I saw that on the UFC website. Yeah, that's probably where I saw them. I was like, minus 800. That's insane. So thank you for correcting me, my dude. Oh, okay. Those are reasonable odds, but still, I feel like Tembo Gorimbo is going to win this fight. I think he's significantly better everywhere. Vicente Luque is still in his prime, so if he chooses to show up, I mean, he might actually surprise us and destroy a lot of people's parlays. I don't think a lot of people are putting in Tembo Gorimbo, but still, I feel like he's probably going to win this fight. I honestly don't see Luque winning, but once again, like I said, Luque is still in his prime, so it just takes him actually wanting to win, putting in the work in the gym and actually trying to get back into the title run. But I don't see that happening. And even if he does, I think he's going to make the fight close. I don't know if he wins or dominates in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, Temba Gorimbo also looked like he had a lot of holes in his fighting style that he needs to work on. So if Vicente Luque shows up, it's going to be a problem for him. But I still feel like Temba Gorimbo is probably going to win this fight. On to the next one. Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. My subscribers and I went with Dominic Reyes. Once again, Temba Gorimbo and Dominic Reyes should actually get finishes. Logically speaking, based on what I'm looking at, Dominic Reyes should knock out Anthony Smith. Temba Gorimbo should um, finish Vicente Luque. I don't know if that's going to be the reality, but normally when it's like this, even if it doesn't end in a finish, it usually ends up in either a dominant decision or a clear decision at the very least. Like if they don't win a dominant decision, they win a clear decision. Or okay, there's no doubt who won. Like there's no possibility for a robbery. But based on what I'm looking here, I think especially Dominic Reyes needs to finish Anthony Smith because I feel like this fight is tailor made for him to actually win. So yeah, I think Dominic Reyes actually gets the finish. I'd be surprised if it goes to a decision. Um, Temba Gorimbo as well, but I wouldn't be surprised if Temba Gorimbo goes to a decision. Seems like he's starting to fall in love with the decisions lately. Anyway, my subscribers and I went with Dominic Reyes. On to the next one. Nate Landwehr versus Duho Choi. My subscribers and I went with Duho Choi. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Nate Landwehr might win this one, but I feel like my biggest issue is, and I hope I'm not gonna sound racist saying this, um, but a lot of Asian fighters have made me not want to have a lot of faith in them. Duho Choi should definitely win this fight, but man, like a lot of these Asian fighters have been very disappointing. Even the guy that you feel like this guy should actually win this fight, and they end up not winning. They end up, crapping the bed, and I just have this feeling that Duho Choi is going to do exactly that. I feel like he's going to crap the bed. Um, I think he's a little bit better than Nate Landwehr. I think he has the power. I think he has the speed. I think he has the technical abilities to actually be the better fighter in this fight. But the Asian fighters, man, and I'm not just giving you my opinion. Just look at the history of some of the Asian fighters that have been fighting recently, except maybe Mingyang Zhang and Zhang Wei Li. I mean, like they haven't been performing really well. I mean, I can give it to Yan Zhaonan. She's also looked decent. But apart from those three, man, like they haven't been doing like a good job for themselves. Um, I'm picking Duho Joy largely because I feel like he's better technically. I think he has more power. I think he's faster. But Nate Landwehr is scrappy. He is a dog. Like it's very difficult to get out of the octagon, and I feel like it might come down to that. It might come down to who wants it more, and I feel like Nate Landwehr will want it more. But I'm going to go with the person who I feel like is the better and more technical fighter, who has a little bit more power, speed, which is Duo Joy. But I could be wrong. Like the agents have been disappointing me. I'm not talking about UFC China. Like even in the past, even last year. Like I'm talking. This is my experience from since I started the channel last year. Like I've had to predict a couple of Asian fighters in fight night cards, and yeah, it hasn't went really well for me. But yeah, I could see Nate Landwehr winning this one, but my pick is is Tu Ho Choi. My subscribers also went with Tu Ho Choi. On to the next one, Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. My subscribers and I went with Bryce Mitchell. Once again, Bryce Mitchell should, one, get a finish, two, um, dominate, or at the very least, three, win convincingly without any doubt. My problem with Bryce Mitchell is that he doesn't have a really great fight IQ, right? I think Bryce Mitchell would beat the living crap out of Kron Gracie if he chooses to stay on the feet. I think he would destroy him. Like he would beat the living crap out of him, right? Even though Bryce Mitchell does not have the best striking, Kron Gracie is horrible. He disappears for years and then he comes back and crawls on his butt. Um, I can't believe I once picked this guy, man. Anyway, maybe he went away and worked on his striking, but it doesn't seem like he did. I don't know, man. Like, he seems like he's in the UFC because of his family name, and he's not really concerned about winning fights. He knows people are going to be scared of him, so he's usually going to lose a decision. All he's going to do is just jump at your legs and then crawl on his ass and try to get your legs. My concern with Bryce Mitchell is also dumb. So he might be like, you know what, I'm the best wrestler. I'm going to grapple with him. And then he gets submitted. Oh, sweet Bryce Mitchell. Uh, and Josh Emmett did not do him any favors by knocking him out so brutally. So, like, he probably lost the three brain cells that he had. So his decision making won't be as great. But nonetheless, I'm picking Bryce Mitchell. If all goes according to plan, he should dominate this fight. If all goes according to plan, he should finish this fight, not just dominate. He needs to finish this fight. I think he is 10 times better than somebody. How are you, man? How are you? I'm going to respond to everyone once I'm done. I'm almost done. So, yeah, Bryce Mitchell should definitely win. Um, but like I said, the three brain cells that he had probably were taken by Josh Emmett last year. So probably it's not gonna be. Yeah. So once upon an oil fest, that's my point. I'm worried because I don't expect him to have like a really high fight IQ. He's probably going to think I can take this guy on the ground, and then he gets submitted, and we are all sitting down there putting our hands on our head like this, like, oh no, no, Bryce, what are you doing? Like, I can see it. Bryce is there, winning, and then Crown Grace is busy crawling on his butt. Like, are you scared to grapple me? Like, he's doing this, and then Bryce is like, "Do you think I'm scared?" And then he jumps into his guard, and then they grapple, and then he gets submitted, and then he goes onto the microphone and is like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have jumped in his guard, but it is what it is," and starts speaking about the Bible, and then yeah, I could see that happening, and that worries me. But I think Bryce Mitchell is going to win this fight. I think even though he's dumb, I think he's still going to be able to win this fight. Um, by the way, I'm a religious person. Before people come for me and like, yeah, you are a devil worshipper and everything like that because I said what I said. But yeah, on to the next one. Cyril Gahn versus Alexander Volkov. My subscribers and I went with Cyril Gahn. Another fight. Um, Once again, I think Cyril Gahn should actually dominate this fight. And not just win, but dominate this fight. I know Alexander Volkov has takedowns, but Volkov is not John Jones. And I feel like Cyril Gahn was not expecting John Jones to be that fast and skilled. He said he was prepared, but I mean, Taibura was not able to take down what do you call him, Cyril Gahn. I don't see Alexander Volkov being able to do it. I saw a lot of people saying Volkov is going to knock Cyril Gahn out. I mean, one of my favorite fighters, what do you call him, Francis Ngannou, resorted to grappling Cyril Gahn. And granted, Francis Ngannou had an injury, but Francis Ngannou is a powerful dude. And even he was like, you know what? I think it's safer to wrestle this guy. Um, yeah, no, I think you missed it. I spoke about it a little bit, like significantly. Once I'm done with the stream, you can go to the stream and just check where I spoke about Dominic Reyes. I actually broke down the Dominic Reyes fight. So back to Cyril Gahn and Alexander Volkov. By the way, this is coming from me, the guy who picked Alexander Volkov to beat Sergey Pavlovich. When people were like, "Are you crazy? Are you stupid? Why are you picking Alexander Volkov over Sergey? Sergey is going to knock him out." And I was like, guys, relax, relax. Everyone is not going to be knocked out by Sergey. Like, and the people were saying the same thing when I picked Tom Aspinall against Sergey Pavlovich. They're like, "Are you insane? You don't know what you're talking about. You should delete your channel." Like, Sergey Pavlovich is going to knock out Tom Aspinall. And I was like, guys, relax. Relax. Relax, Strauss. We know this is your job, but come on, wait a little bit for this one. And then they kept quiet. So this is coming from someone who picked Volkov to beat Sergey. It's not like I underestimate Volkov in any way, shape, or form. I just feel like Cyril Gahn is extremely fast, is very light on his feet. Already beat Volkov, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember Cyril Gahn actually beating Alexander Volkov. Cyril Gahn is better everywhere, man. Like, unfortunately for Alexander Volkov, Volkov is very awkward and slow. I don't know if he's going to be able to do anything to Cyril Gahn. Anyone who thinks Volkov is going to knock out Cyril Gahn is high, but it's MMA. I could be saying this and then I get shocked. I get shocked, and then what happens is um, he gets knocked out for real, and I'm like left here on Monday having to take my L's. Are you going to show your picks? I'm I'm actually showing my picks right now. Like, as I'm breaking down each and every fight, I actually tell you who I picked. But if you want to know exactly like my picks come out weeks before. Like right now, my UFC 310 predictions are out. They came out last Saturday. On the shorts section of the channel and the video section. This is the live section is basically where I break down the fights. But my predictions came out a long time ago. Tweezy Rich, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the stream, my dude. I'm about to finish. If you want to see my takes on a couple of other fights, um, you have to rewatch the stream. But anyway, Cyril gone. So I don't see Volkov doing anything to Cyril Gahn, man. I know a lot of people are going to bring up Taito Ivasa, but even Fernand Lopez, is it? It's not Fernand Lopez. It is. I think it's Fernand Lopez. He said the Cyril Gahn was actually intentionally trying to make the fight exciting with the Taito Ivasa. Um, that's why he got rocked a little bit because he was intentionally trying to get the finish. He was in his hometown. Um, and he was trying to make the fight exciting and get the finish. But does anyone believe that the Taito Ivasa would have beaten Sorogan? I mean, come on. Um, Taito Ivasa has been on a losing streak since he got into the top five. I think, isn't that a history or a record of some sort? Like Taito Ivasa, as far as my knowledge, by the way, I started watching MMA. I'm a new MMA fan. I started watching MMA like in 2018 or something like that. So it's not that long ago. So maybe I could be wrong. I just do a lot of research, so that's what helps me. But I've never seen anyone who got into the top five and then lost every single fight. And like Taito Ivasa was in the top 50, was in the top 15, right? The bottom 15. Beat Derek Lewis, got into the top five, lost every fight ever since, and got back into the bottom 15 before winning any other fight. That has to be a record. Like he jumped the rankings and lost and came back to where he was without winning a fight. That's incredible. Um, Tweezy, I'll respond to you. I think you are rebutting, or you are disputing my take on Cyril Gahn versus Volkov. Obviously, I explained my reasons a little bit before you came on to the stream, but I'll try to respond before this evil battery just takes away my joy. Anyway, so I feel like I think I explained a little bit on why I feel like Cyril Gahn is going to win. Um, if I'm right, it shouldn't even be close. If I'm right, the Cyril Gahn should actually get the finish. Um, so yeah, on to the next one. Shafkat Rokmanov versus Ian Machado Gary. My subscribers and I went with Shafkat Rokmanov. Yeah, this one might be a little bit closer than the other fights. But here's my thing, right? When this is what I did when I was breaking down the fight between Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira. I looked at common opponents, right? The most recent common opponent that I can think of is is Jeff Neal, right? Shafkat was getting hit a lot. We have to admit that, but he was also hitting Jeff Neal a lot, right? And he wasn't even trying to wrestle Jeff Neal. Surprisingly, I don't recall Shafkat Rukmanov trying to wrestle Jeff Neal, right? But he ended up getting one of the best submissions. And in fact, my subscribers for the Combat Sports Awards, it was voted. Was it? Yeah, I think that was the best submission of 2023 on the channel, right? So Shafkat was able to finish Jeff Neal. Ian Gary was borderline afraid to engage with Jeff Neal. He was just point fighting him basically. That's the only description I can give as far as how the fight played out. Ian Gary was borderline running basically from Jeff Neal, right? Whereas Shafkat actually fought Jeff Neal. The question is, can Ian Gary outpoint Shafkat Rakhmonov? I think so. I think it's possible, but I think Shafkat is so aggressive, he won't give Ian Gary a shot or the ability or the chance to actually outpoint him, right? He doesn't. Shafkat does not have a 100% finishing rate just for the hell of it. He is very aggressive in fights, so that's going to help him because he's going to be pressuring. So either you have to believe that Shafkat is going to get tired and get finished, or Shafkat is going to get caught while trying to be aggressive. I'm willing to bet that Shafkat is going to probably try to grapple Ian Gary. I don't think he's going to try and strike with Ian Gary because even if he feels like maybe he might have a shot, I don't think he's going to risk it. But then again, I mean, I remember Leon Edwards spoke about. Was it Leon Edwards? Someone spoke about Shafkat Rakhmonov knocking out Ian Gary in training. But once again, training is training, and that was a long time ago. Ian Gary probably improved. So maybe Shafkat might have a bit of confidence knowing that he knocked him out in training, and maybe decides he wants to strike with him. I don't know. Um, my subscribers and I are going with Shafkat Rakhmonov. I feel like he will be better. He will have the advantage on the ground. On the feet, in all honesty, I feel like it's going to be a coin flip. But because of that, I think it gives the advantage to Shafkat because if on the feet it's a coin flip, then it gives him the advantage to mix everything up and take the fight to the ground. Um, Tweezy's not even giving Ian Gary a shot, man. That's sad. But yeah, man, I think it might be close. I wouldn't be shocked if this is the first decision win for Shafkat. Um, but Ian Gary took his wife's name, and like it doesn't smell of an alpha male. And you have to be an alpha in order to, like, you have to believe you are the big dog, you know. And he's busy doing feminine things, and I'm not against feminism or whatever the case is, because I know they might try to say, "Oh my God, this guy is a misogynist." I'm not, but like masculinity means trying being dominant, and taking a wife's name is not very dominant. So I don't know. I don't feel like I don't know. I don't feel like he's going to win this one. Unfortunately, um, yeah, I don't think Ian Gary, but it's gonna be close. Let me just leave it at that. I feel like it's gonna be close. I just feel like Shafkat has more ways to win than Ian Gary. Anyway, on to the next one. Alexander Bentoja versus Kai Asakura. My subscribers and I went with Alexander Pantoja. There isn't a lot of information on this particular fight, so I'll read some of the basic information, right? Pantoja has a 64% finishing rate with 8 KOs and 10 submissions. Kaya Sakura has a 76% finishing rate, 13 KOs, 3 submissions, and was fighting in Ryzen. Alexander Pantoja is ranked number 1 in the world. Kai Asakura is ranked 59 in the world. My opinion, my opinion, my opinion. These kind of fights are very tricky. Once again, to me, even though Kaya Sakura is ranked worldwide, it feels like a regional fight, in my opinion. Like, he feels like a regional fighter. He could have been ranked number 1 in China. It wouldn't have made any difference. Or I'm not sure where he's from. I apologize if that was a racist comment. But still, for me personally, I don't feel like okay. This is gonna be very challenging because you remember, guys, when I've been breaking down fights, when I've been breaking down fights, I always say that I don't add rankings just so that you guys can just see which number this guy is ranked in. And I prefer the Topology rankings as opposed to the UFC rankings, because the Topology rankings are done by people, if I'm not mistaken, by Topology members, whereas UFC rankings are done by, I think, I don't know, media members, and bias is always involved in those kind of things. So I prefer the Topology rankings, right? Rankings basically, to me, and in general, signify that you've been fighting elite level competition, right? That's why Pantoja is number 1, and that's why Asakura is number 59, right? But at the same time, ranking might not mean that someone is not good. It just means they haven't been fighting, or rather they haven't had the opportunity to fight elite level competition. The problem here is Kai Asakura has lost before, right? If Asakura was undefeated, I'd be like, well, yeah. I mean, the guy has, and he has lost a couple of times. I think I unfortunately I don't have his record with me, but I think he's lost like 6 times. I actually should have checked the methods of loss, but I think he was submitted before, right? One of his weaknesses that I've seen was his takedown defense. And granted, I saw him working on his takedown defense in preparation for this particular fight, right? Which might potentially mean that he's a little bit more prepared than most people think, including myself. On the other side of the coin, we have Pantoja, who I've repeatedly said he's on the decline, and I still maintain that. And I remember I said that Pantoja is going to lose his belt within the next 2 or 3 defenses. I still stand by what I said. I just don't know if that person is going to be Kaya Sakura. Largely because even if Asakura is that talented, to me it's like taking Shara Bullet right now and putting him in the octagon with Dricus Duplessis. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, Shara Bullet is an incredible striker. No one is disputing that. His takedown defense is not that great, and even if he worked with Islam Makhachev to work on his takedown defense in maybe a couple of months, I don't think it will make that much of a difference as far as when he fights Dricus Duplessis. Because to me, in my opinion, that's how the fight is for me. It's like Shara Magomedov fighting Dricus Duplessis right now. Shara will obviously be the better striker. Okay, I'll respond to that once I'm done. Shara will obviously be the better striker. Obviously. Oh, my battery. This battery does it, but it's my fault for not charging it when I slept. My battery is on 13%, guys. Even though I'm done, I want to respond to all of you, but I want to speak about the main event a little bit more. But let me just try and wrap it up a little bit quicker. So, this fight is a little bit tricky for me, largely because on one hand we have Pantoja, who I feel like is declining, and on the other hand we have someone who I would consider a regional fighter, even though he's ranked worldwide. I don't feel like he's been facing like the best level of competition, because someone, even if you're ranked 59 in the world, the people who have been fighting in the UFC have seen wars, like have seen some of the best MMA fighters in the world. Pantoja has beaten some of the best MMA fighters in the world. Anyone who thinks Pantoja is going to just stand there and try to strike with this guy is really not very smart, because I assume that obviously he's going to maybe try to feel him out and feel how good he is as far as striking. And if he feels like, okay, this guy's too fast or is too dangerous, he's going to grapple this guy. And takedown defense, look at Israel Adesanya. Takedown defense is really good in the beginning, right? You can defend takedowns and avoid getting taken down, especially. But if you haven't been doing it for too long, you won't be able to do that for 5 rounds, right? You might be able to do it in the first round. You might be able to do it in the second round. But in the third round, you're going to get taken down. As long as Pantoja does not get discouraged by the takedown defense of Kaya Sakura early, I could see him actually taking him down. But on the other hand, Kaya Sakura is a really talented striker, and he could get the knockout. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like this fight is risky. But in all honesty, we give Kaya Asakura too much credit, because he is, for some reason, popular where he's coming from. He filled out arenas in Ryzen, I think. So I think he has this massive hype. But as far as finishing abilities, I mean, he his finishing rate is like 75%, and Pantoja is on 64%. That's not a massive gap. Like that's a let me see. That's an 11% gap as far as finishing rates go. So it's not a massive gap. It's not like Asakura has like 100% finishing rate or an 80% finishing rate, and Pantoja has like a 50% finishing rate. Which means to me, for example, I feel like this is going to be a decision victory for Pantoja. Um, I could see a world where Asakura lands a knockout shot because Pantoja is declining. So to be honest, just stay away from this fight, guys. Like to be honest, just South Korea guy, how are you doing? Tweezy, your friend from South Korea is here. How are you? Is it the guy from South Korea? I hope I'm not being racist by assuming. I think it's you. Is it you? Are you from South Korea, dude? Like AR. Anyway, those are my predictions. Um, Let me reply to you guys before my phone turns off. I'm left with 10. I'm going to leave once my phone reaches 5%. Let me try to respond as quickly as possible. Hopefully, I don't go on a rant because I talk too much sometimes. Um, let me see. Damn, there's so many replies. But the subscribers who are always with me already know that you can comment. I'll always respond. Um, let me see. Oh my god. No, there's so many, and my battery is like trying to ruin my life. Um, Let me see. I agree. What's the tips on this guy was talking about masturbation? Imagine. Are you discussing the safe and risk? No. Once upon an oil fest, Hooper dominates. Maybe possible. Once upon an oil fest, I think it's 60% safe. Yeah, I said 55% on my end, so I could see why you would say 60%. R, sup, my boy? How are you doing, R? R, Nick Diaz will never be champion. Damn. V Trojas, love your picks, man. Follow every week. I appreciate the love, man. It means a lot to me. Bro, you need to do some streams where you talk to the chat. I'll do that next week. And you guys should log in. Because it seems like whenever I speak, people listen and then bounce after I'm done. Kamran, but I'll try to get like interesting topics. We can speak about the main event. I'll try to maybe break down the main event, the co-main event, a little bit more because right now I'm a bit rushed by the time. So I'll try to do that a bit more next week. Bro, which three is your most confident picks? I normally do that when I do my abscess prediction. So maybe, but let me just give you what who I think is going to win. You know, I hate being wrong, so let me not say that right now. Come again when I'm doing my abscess prediction so that I have enough time to check a little bit more thoroughly. I hate being wrong, my guy. So I don't want to give you people and then next week I change and then you're like, no, dude, like last week we can't do that. Like, no, dude, you said last week you said this guy's going to win. So let me research a little bit more and then I'll give you my most confident picks when I do my upsets predictions. Yakuzagu, Randy Brown, and Luke, most possible upset. Randy only lost to top 5 dog, while Temba hasn't proven any good to be better than Luke. He lost to he lost to a decision to Price, whom Luke easily finished. But we're not talking about the same Luke. Luke is washed up a little bit right now. Yakuzaku, and also that Korean Choi dude isn't any better. He lost to Jordan and drew to Pickett while Nate has his experience, has won against Onama and held his own against the likes of Dan Ige. Yakuzagu, that's actually a good point. True, I have faith on white men cheating. Me and you both, my dude. John Doe, Bedlam makes it look easy. I hope he does. No, guys, my battery's on 5%, and this phone acts up when it has to turn on. So, unfortunately, I have to leave you guys. I love and appreciate all of you. I'll try to stream again. We'll talk in the comment section. I've managed to respond to every comment. So whenever you want to reach me, dive into the comment section. We'll speak there. I'll try to do another stream a little bit sooner. I'm not going to wait up until I do my upsets predictions. Until next time, I apologize. My phone is about to turn off, and it's going to remain online up until I come back and turn it off. So I don't want that to happen. We'll talk again soon. I love and appreciate all of you. Um, See you in the comment section or when I go live again. Until then, deuces.